Well, Peter, first of all, it's unbelievable that I didn't have to put the mic down, because whether it was you or 90% of the other people in the world, I always have to put the microphone down. But thank you for that very warm introduction, and thank all of you for allowing me to be a part of this great day. And speaking at a graduation, I always think back to my own graduation from college, Williams College, back in 1989. And I am proud to say that I own a very important academic distinction from Williams College, which has produced presidents and a lot of other people like that, a lot of people, worldwide leaders. And I am proud to say that I am the graduate of Williams College with the all-time lowest LSAT board score. And I don't know if it's official, but I'm pretty sure it is, knowing the competition. But during my years at Williams College, I listened to a lot of music. And one of my favorite all-time artists, ever since I was in elementary school, I remember my first album being from this artist, Bruce Springsteen. There we go, we all love Bruce. And I remember, I think with the College of Professional Studies, I can see my first album, which has a hole in the middle and is made of vinyl. I know if you're below 23 or 24, you probably have no concept what that is. But for me, it was in elementary school, and I was a Bruce fan, still am today. And some of you may know, especially the people that rang out there when I mentioned Bruce's name, that he released an album in the last month or so called Wrecking Ball. And the first single off the album was a song called We Take Care of Our Own. But in essence, it's an ironic song, because his view in the song is that we don't take care of our own, that the things that made this country great, opportunity and hope and building sustaining and compassionate communities, are no longer happening across America. And I'll read you some of the lines from the song. I've been stumbling on good hearts turned to stone, the road of good intentions gone dry as a bone. Where are the eyes with the will to see? And where are the hearts that run over with mercy? And where is the promise from sea to shining sea? Well, I disagree with my favorite artist, Bruce Springsteen, because for 52 years, opportunity and hope and the ability to build sustained and compassionate communities have been alive and well here at the College of Professional Studies for thousands of students just like you that have come through here, just like Peter Roby. And in reading about the students, it's a student such as the gentleman that is a nurse at a small rural community hospital in northern New Hampshire, who's getting his BS in nursing right here at CPS. And he's here because of the great opportunity that this program offers. As he said, I'm getting my education here at the College of Professional Studies because of its reputation for supporting adult learners and promoting academic excellence. So his opportunity is here, and he is taking that to sustain and make a more compassionate community. As he went on to say, I work in a busy operating room of a community hospital in the White Mountains of New Hampshire, and I have noticed the large population of underserved and vulnerable patients who need strong advocates at both the local and national level. And I intend to go on and get a master's degree in nursing as well. Very similar to him is a student from CPS that is in your nonprofit management program. He said he wanted to get his degree in nonprofit management to make his community better. And why is that? Because most of his early life was spent overseas in refugee camp. And when he came to America, he realized that opportunity only meant one thing. It meant getting an education. And he found that opportunity here at the College of Professional Studies. And now he intends to build a stronger, compassionate community. And finally, your 2012 Compass Award winner, Christina McMahon, who is not only a student here, but a full-time employee, and most importantly, a full-time mother who still finds time to give back through the Girl Scouts and also with local food banks. But she said her opportunity was here at the College of Professional Studies as well. The flexibility of online classes, combined with the choices of traditional setting, really provides working adults, really meets the needs of working adults in today's society here at CPS. For that, I will always be grateful to Northeastern University's College of Professional Studies. Similar to CPS, the Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston has been sustaining community through providing opportunity and hope for 120 years. Now, I need to digress for a minute because a lot of times people come up to me and say, you know, your last name is Kraft. What are you doing working at a Boys and Girls Club? You could be doing anything you want, or frankly, you could be doing nothing at all. You could be at home watching ESPN Sports Center all day or the History Channel or something. And I like to say that, as I mentioned before, I went to Williams College. I went to private school education my whole life, and I like to say that I grew up on the mean, tough, gritty streets of Chestnut Hill, Massachusetts, right down the road from here, a proud member of the Lucky DNA Club. And really, despite all the private schooling and going to a great college, despite my LSAT score, the greatest educational experience of my life happened back in the fall of 1990. And at that time, I was hired by the Boys and Girls Club to run an outreach program for, I guess the term back then was at-risk middle school kids in South Boston and Dorchester. And for the first time in my life through that job, I saw things that I'd only read about. Teen pregnancy, substance abuse, violence, school truancy, and undereducation, among others, just to name a few. But at the same time, I also learned another great lesson, and that was the power of Boys and Girls Clubs to not only offer opportunity and hope, but to build sustained communities and communities of compassion throughout the city of Boston, as Boys and Girls Clubs of Boston has done for 120 years. And I think back to my new role, last year, our Youth of the Year from our Charlestown Club, and this really resonates with that. In his essay, to be Youth of the Year, he mentioned two powerful things. The first being that his goal in life was to be the first person in his family to go to college. And through the opportunities at the Boys and Girls Clubs provided him through college fairs and financial aid support, I'm happy to say that he is on on scholarship up at UNH in the School of Engineering, so he didn't take the easy way. But the second thing that stood out about this young man was that he said, after that, his number one thing that was important to him, or his number two thing that was most important to him, was giving back to the community. That's what he loved to do. And he did it not only at the club through mentoring younger club members and selling Christmas trees throughout the winter to benefit the Boys and Girls Club, but he also participated in community-wide community service events, whether it was a Hurricane Katrina relief effort and other things that the community of Charlestown put on. Taking it another step, nationally, Boys and Girls Clubs of America alumni, 57% of them say the Boys and Girls Club saved their life. And again, it's through the opportunity and the hope that each club offers where this takes place. And no story resonates more with that truth than the story about 10, 12 years ago, an executive from the Silicon Valley who was affiliated with the Boys and Girls Clubs of America's National Board of Governors. And what this guy loved to do is in the early spring, he would take a hunting and fishing trip up to the northernmost part of North America. It was an area surrounded by Inuit villages. And every year, he would meet the same guide who would meet him, take him out, and show him where to go. And every year, he'd have the same conversation with this guide. How is the year up here? And every year, the guide would give him the same response. It was another tough year. We had 2 teen suicides. The next year, they'd meet, same thing. 2 teen suicides, 3 teen suicides. So finally, this gentleman, with the help of his affiliates at the National Boys and Girls Club Board of Governors, got a small teen center built up in this area. And in the first spring, on his return, on his annual fishing and hunting excursion, he met with his guide. They had their usual small talk, and he asked his guide, "How was the year?" And the guide said, "It was an unbelievable year. There were no teen suicides this year." So it's that hope and opportunity that has sustained Boys and Girls Clubs and sustained all the great students that have come through the College of Professional Studies as well. Finally, another thing about this America that Mr. Springsteen is missing is the power of volunteerism. Last year in America, there were over 65 million people that volunteered. And all of us may think that volunteerism is something you just do. But there is a story that proves volunteerism and supporting one another and creating compassionate communities is actually a part of our human DNA, and it doesn't matter where you're from. The story goes like this. The famous anthropologist Margaret Mead was once meeting with some graduate students. One of the students came to her and said, "Dr. Mead, how do you know what the earliest signs of a civilization are?" Now the student figured she'd say, a fishing hook, a pot, a kind of pot, a kind of knife, who knows? But she looked back at the student and she said, "The first signs that I know I've uncovered a civilization is finding a healed broken leg, a healed femur." The student looked back at her and said, "A healed femur? What does that mean?" And she said, "When someone had a healed femur, it meant that in a day and age where really the law of the jungle was the only law, somebody took the time to take care of this person, provide them with food, shelter, and clothing. And that compassion," and Dr. Mead went on to say, that compassion is the first sign of civilization. Now, I know it, in my parents' vision, this compassion and volunteerism is something that means so much to them. It meant a lot to my mother, and it still means a lot to my dad. And through the years, they've given away hundreds of millions of dollars to worthy nonprofits, community-based hospitals, community health centers, great colleges and universities such as Northeastern. But if you ask them, if you ask my dad today, and if you ask my mom before she passed away, tell us one of your favorite things that you've supported, I know that they both would have said the Community MVP Awards at the New England Patriots. These awards, which have been going on for 11 years now, recognize 21 outstanding volunteers from small nonprofits throughout New England, small and larger nonprofits throughout New England. And this program meant so much to my parents that I remember last year, about this time, when we were reviewing applications, my mother couldn't be there because she was too sick. So I went in to see her at the hospital at the time and brought her the 5 finalists for last year's program and read them all to her. And when I read to her the grand prize winner, she couldn't have agreed more with the choice from last year's event, although she couldn't be there. And last year's grand prize winner was a woman who is really a unique situation. This woman suffered from adult Asperger's syndrome. And about 7 or 8 years ago, she was completely desperate, depressed, probably similar to a lot of the kids up in those Inuit villages. She was afraid of any and all social situations and had left school. So she turned up at the Asperger's Association of New England. And within a year, year and a half, she was provided with services and support and opportunities and hope that built her sense of self. So much so that a year or so later, she was compelled to give back to this community, the Asperger's Association of New England. And not just one day a week, but 2 to 3 days a week, compassionately supporting this important community that was so important in her life. She led groups for adults with Asperger's syndrome. She was a resource for families with kids with Asperger's syndrome. She wrote articles for medical journals, and this woman who was so afraid to speak just one-on-one with people was participating in medical conferences with medical experts on the subject. So, returning again to my favorite artist, Mr. Springsteen. The hearts that run over with mercy, the eyes with the will to see, and the promise from sea to shining sea are alive and well in America today. Whether you're the owners of a professional football franchise, whether you're a staff at a Boys and Girls Club, whether you're a nurse working at a rural community hospital in northern New Hampshire, or whether you're here today graduating from the College of Professional Studies at Northeastern University, all of you understand and know that you need to, and you will, create supportive, sustainable, and compassionate communities throughout America, not just for today, but for many future generations to come. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of your day today.